Hi, hello everyone. Can I please have a confirmation in the chat box that I am properly audible and visible? I will be the host for this particular session tonight. Thank you, Rehan. Okay, that's great. Yeah, we have around 25 people live with me right now. I would request all of you all to kindly invite your friends to join the session. This is going to be an extremely informative session. Okay, that's very well. So, first of all, a very good evening to everyone present here, all the live audiences who are presently watching me right now. Today is the day 13th of Geek-O-Lympics that we are presently having. So, let me give you a small brief intro about what exactly is Geek-O-Lympics. So, this particular event that we are having, and it started on 1st of July, and we will be having this particular event throughout this month. So in this particular event, there are a lot of webinars presented, and in fact, there are other competitions also, including Jobathon and weekly coding test. So the link of this particular event is in the description, and I would request you all to kindly have a look at it. Do register for the events. This is going to be an exciting month for you all. Okay. I hope. Yeah. So today is the day 13, and this particular webinar is is a part of Geek Olympics. So I welcome all of you to this particular webinar, and we have an extremely exceptional individual amongst us today. And it is my honor to introduce Mr. Rehan Shahid, who is an extraordinary expert in the field of artificial intelligence. He has a wealth of experience spanning over a decade in both product development and research. Mr. Shahid currently holds the esteemed position of Chief AI Product Architect at Tapway. Mr. Shahid's journey is in the realm of technology began with his bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering from Kalinga Institute of Information Technology, which laid a solid foundation for his remarkable career. He has previously showcased his immense talent and dedication as a senior software engineer at Edgeworth and Tata Consultancy Services, contributing to groundbreaking projects in the industry. Now, tonight, Geeks for Geeks is extremely fortunate to have Mr. Shahid presence to share his invaluable insights on one of the most remarkable advancements in the field of AI, chatbots, and more specifically, about ChatGPT, and its profound impact on revolutionizing human-machine conversations. So with his extensive knowledge and experience, Mr. Shahid will guide us through his illustrious history of this particular chat box, and he will also be explaining us about its use cases and applications. So let me introduce, share, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Gaurav, for the humble introduction.
Yeah,
And
welcome,
good
sir.
evening, everyone. Thanks to the Geeks for Geeks team also for organizing this Geek-O-Lympics. It's really interesting. I have been following it from the starting, and please feel free to visit the page and see like what are the different coding events and like the job opportunities which are available there. Uh, so yeah, today we'll be discussing in this session about chatbots and specifically about ChatGPT. Uh, so how it has revolutionized the human-machine conversation, right? Uh, so we will not be discussing very much like the things about writing prompts and what are the different things ChatGPT can do. Uh, but first of all, we'll get to know what ChatGPT is, right? So before that, I'll just share my screen.
So while Mr. Rehan is sharing his screen, let me just give a heads up to the audiences. If you have any doubts regarding whatever he is explaining, and if you would like to have a discussion with him, you can just put up your questions in the chat box and I will convey it to him and we can have a discussion. And I would request all of you to kindly keep this session a little bit interactive so that it's a fruitful for all of our audiences present today. Okay.
Great, thanks, Gaurav. Uh, so hope everyone is able to see my screen. Can you please comment if it is visible so that I can start the session. And before we start, may I know how many of you have like used ChatGPT before? Uh, and also people who have not used, they can also comment, right? So I have a basic idea of what is your familiarity regarding the tool, at least the usage. Please feel free to comment, right? So we'll go ahead with the session. So I'll be starting with the history of ChatGPT, right? Before we dive in and see how it works. So first of all, ChatGPT, I mean, it didn't start in a day, right? I mean, it's a cumulative effort, and it is a very recent uh, discovery. It is a very recent invention, right? This what the model which has been developed. It's not very old, as you can see. Uh, so it started in 2018, uh, and it started with developing the concept of transformer, right, which we will discuss further in the session. Then we moved on to develop GPT-1, right? Uh, so GPT stands for generative pre-trained model, right? Then in 2019 there was GPT-2. 2020 further moving ahead, it was GPT-3. 2022 it was Instruct GPT. 2023 was the time when ChatGPT was launched, and there was buzz around all around regarding ChatGPT. Uh, and now we have the latest version of ChatGPT, which is using GPT-4, right? So these are just the versions. Uh, so like ChatGPT is basically a chatbot, right? Uh, so earlier, if you have seen different chatbots you have used on different platforms, maybe on airline bookings or banks, right? So they are very particular with what questions you're asking, and they will be not be able to give you response if, I mean, you don't have very specific words, right, or outside of their domain, right? So ChatGPT is trained on large corpus of data, right? And it will be giving you a very verbose, a very detailed response on any of the question you're asking from almost like in any domain you can ask, right? And it can also do a lot of tasks for you, right? Which we will see further, like what are the different tasks it can do, right? It can help you write a code, right? So I think before we deep dive, since I have not heard from you guys that how many of you have used, so I think let's switch and see what ChatGPT can do. So I'll just switch my screen. Yeah, I was just trying out converting the code, right? So let me write a Java program. So you can see like how it just gave like wrote the code, right? And this is a very simple code, right? Which I have given the prompt for. So whatever question you are writing, it is called the prompt, right? But you can also ask it to do complex problems, right? So if you want to suppose want to write a code for write code to find duplicate images using OpenCV. So suppose if there are like few images and you want to find which are the duplicate images using OpenCV, right? So it can be, and you can keep on increasing the complexity, right? And also, I mean, you can um So yeah, I mean it will elaborate different questions and different answers, right? So you can so as you saw, like we can take the help of when in your like development process for writing the complex code. Also you can prepare for the different interviews, and also you can learn different concepts using this, right? uh, Also you can plan itinerary. So I think it will be queuing the questions, right? And after it has finished, yeah, then it will be uh, taking the next question, right? In the meantime, it is like showing the response, right? We can continue. Uh,
Yeah, so Mr. Rehan, I have a couple of questions that I wanted to know. So,
sure, please go ahead.
uh, so how exactly are ChatGPT able to reproduce code? So, are they being trained upon the syntaxes of this code? And
Great question, Gaurav.
what are the sources of the
Yeah, so
information? From where exactly are they getting it?
yeah. So further in the session, actually, I wanted to start with how ChatGPT actually works, how it is developed, right? So this is the part of the session that will be like
Okay,
proceeding
okay.
ahead. Uh, but since I mean I couldn't see responses regarding the attendees who have used ChatGPT, so yeah, I just wanted to like show some demo regarding this
Okay, okay.
wide range of things that you can try out. Yeah, Gaurav, yeah, we'll come back to it.
Sure, sir.
So you can see, so what I have done, travel plan for 1 week visit to Ladakh bike trip, right? And so you can see here, it will be giving you the whole itinerary, right, for any place, right? So you can do a lot of stuff, right? So you can try it out yourself. Uh, so yeah, let's continue. So as we saw history, right? So uh, so basically, these are the different research papers which have like in which like different models are developed, right? So basically, I mean these are different collection of research papers. So ChatGPT is a sibling model to instruct GPT, right, which is trained to follow an instruction, right, in a prompt, right? So what we have posted just now, like prompt is a question that you're asking, and provide a detailed response, which you have seen. So this is the definition given on the OpenAI ChatGPT official website, right? And when we talk about it is a sibling model to instruct GPT, right? So instruct GPT is itself it is actually derived from GPT-3, and GPT-3 is itself derived from transformer, right? So I think it's time that we see from starting, right, how ChatGPT has evolved basically. So what we will do, we will go through a couple of research papers, right, to see the advancement of ChatGPT. I'll try to keep the concept simple, right? Because there might be informations which might be uh, new to people who are not having the background. So we'll try to keep it simple and avoid anything which is for, I mean, advanced learners. So I will start with the first research paper, uh, which is called "Attention is All You Need," right? So this is a reference. You can go to the research paper and you can read about it later on. Uh, so basically, what I want to explain here is that how it started. So earlier language modeling, right? So this Chat GPT is a large language model. It is a LLM, right? So earlier language models used to use LSTM and GRU. LSTM and GRU, if you don't know, don't worry. These are deep learning models, right? Which are based on, which are used for uh, language processing, right? So suppose if you are saying anything to Alexa, right? If it is processing your speech, you can use this, right? So don't worry if you are not knowing it is. It is long short-term memory and gated recurrent. So yeah, don't worry if you're not knowing the details. So the issue what we faced with these language models was that it was recurrent, right? So by recurrent means that when the sequence length, so when the sentence length is increasing, the runtime will increase. Why it happens? Because suppose you have a whole sentence, right? So it will process each and every word. So that is why the runtime will increase. So to resolve all these issues, what the authors did, so they came up with transformers, right? So transformers is a different concept from recurrent neural networks. It is an attention mechanism which draws global dependencies between input and output. So this is the definition uh, which is mentioned in this research paper. In simple terms, transformer you can think of for now. For this slide, think of transformer as a building block of ChatGPT for this and the future versions. Okay, so we need not go into much detail. Any questions till now? Anyone? Okay,
I think
we'll move.
we do not have any questions as of now. You can continue. If there are, I will let you know.
Sure. Okay. So second, after we had after transformers was developed, right? Then came GPT-1, right? So GPT, I have already told you, it is generative pre-trained transformer, right? So so in this research paper, improving language understanding by generative pre-training, GPT-1 was introduced, right? So here, what was done? The model was pre-trained on large corpus of unlabeled uh, text, right? Using a generative model. Then it was fine-tuned for a specific task. Uh, Gaurav, on your question, so the training started from here, right? So it was large text data available from internet, uh, and you can say it was around 12 years of data in petabytes in which on which it was trained.
Okay.
I'll mention the specific data sets later on with further models. So so there were two stages of training, right? One was unsupervised pre-training, then was supervised fine-tuning. So unsupervised pre-training, it was trained on unsupervised data, uh, and it was trained on the context, right? So suppose it is not just trained on the word, but it is trained on whole sentence uh, with like what comes before the word and what comes after the word. And in supervised fine tuning, right? What was done? It was trained on the the model which is trained when we have done the unsupervised training, right? So supervised fine tuning training was and another layer was added on the top of the model which was trained by unsupervised, right? And then the training was done, and the weighted loss and the language model loss was reduced. Yeah. So after we have after GPT-1, then another concept came in, which was language models are unsupervised multitask learner, right? So the concept of training a single model on like simultaneously multiple language tasks came, right? So you can see there example in which uh, this is example of the data on which it was trained. So this example is from the research paper. So you can see it is example of naturally occurring demonstration of English to French and French to English translation. So you can see here, I'm not the cleverest man in the world, but like they say in French, I'm not a fool, right? So this means, I mean, this is the English translation and this is French, right? So we have trained uh, the model on on these data, right? So now when something new comes in or it has to generate some text, it has already learned, the model has already learned like French. So for this um, advancement in which we had the single language model which we were training on different language tasks, right? Uh, the key feature was this time the features, it was trained on 1.5 billion parameters, right? And it was trained on million of scrapped web pages, right? So it was called web text. So Gaurav and other learners, so the data set from which, I mean, on which it was trained was web text. So it is, you can say, large amount of document data which was collected. So normally the previous model which I told you, GPT-1, I mean, it was trained on common crawl. So common crawl is a data set which I discussed. It is 12 years collected since 12 years on internet and petabytes of data. But the web text data, it is more refined data set, right? Uh, so that what is the advantage when we are training on web text instead of training on common crawl was that the model is trained on more specific text, right? And it can be like it can give you a specific answer to the questions that you're asking instead of giving a general answer. Okay, so after um, the GPT-1 and single model for multiple tasks. Then came GPT-3, right? So for this research paper, which was language models are few short learners. So in this, uh, we came across the concept of few short learning, which we will see what it is. So GPT-3, so it is an auto regressive language model. Why? Because I mean it is trained on 175 billion parameters. So you can see like the parameters are like increasing, right? And the performance of the model, it was evaluated in few shot setting. Uh, we'll see what is few shot. So key features. So GPT-3 is similar to GPT-2, right? But I mean, there are some modifications, some minor modifications in the architecture, in the model architecture, right? So the training data which uh, is used for this is so common crawl dataset, which I told you was used for GPT-1, uh, but the filter version of common crawl, and then the web text that we used for the chat GPT. And addition to this, we have used two more internet-based book, I mean, large amount of data set for this. So you can see how this few shot learning works. So you can see the example here. So this is again the example from the research paper. Language models are few short learners. So you can see whatever is there in the bold is the response given by GPT, right? And whatever is there in normal text, it is prompt given by human. So you can see here the example, both the prompt and the response is by human. After that, based on uh, the supervised training, right? You can see uh, based on the prompt, it is giving you the response. The GPT is giving the response, right? So um, yeah, so you can see here. Uh, yeah, so I'll provide you these research paper links, right? So you can go through these examples more in detail, how actually what it is written, how it is basing its response based on the previous learning. Okay. Okay. So moving ahead, what is few shot learning, right? So few shot learning is that uh, like when we are so in few shot in the inference time, right? What you're doing, so when you're doing the inference, right, you're not updating the weights. So inference means while you're testing the model, right, you're not updating the weight. So that is uh, few shot. In few shot, what we do, we give few demo to the model and we see, I mean, yeah, what's the output. So what we are doing here is we are evaluating the large language model we have trained with few short learning approach, right? So what happens when we are evaluating, the model is given examples of some tasks, right? And then it is asked to actually give the response. So this is when we started moving from fine tuning to prompt engineering, right? So you can see here, uh, first we have provided both with the prompt and the response, and later on you can see we just provided with the prompt and then it is giving you the response, right? So this is, yeah, what we so first model is given examples of the task and then it is asked to finish the task, right? So this is how prompt engineering started. So you might be aware of what is prompt engineering, we will see later on. So prompt engineering is basically what we discussed. You are asking, I mean, a valid question or giving a valid task to the model, right? But it is not as simple as it sounds, because the response for Chat GPT is highly dependent on what is the prompt you are giving. So in 2023, this prompt engineer, AI prompt engineer job has been in quite in demand. Um, we'll see later on, right? What are the different prospects for it? Okay, so now moving ahead from GPT-3 instruct GPT, right? Then we have deep reinforcement learning from human preferences, right? So in this, what was done was a framework was presented which was called reinforcement learning from human feedback, right? So a reward model is generated from the human preferences uh, to guide the agent's learning. So why it is happening? So reinforcement learning, for those who don't know, reinforcement learning means that there will be no data labeling and no supervised training. What you will do, you will be creating a reward function, and based on the reward function your model will function. So suppose it is just like uh, a computer playing a game, right? So suppose it is uh, a racing car, right, which is going along the track. So if it is going on the right track, I mean, you just add on to the points. If it is just colliding with any of the walls or something, right, on this, if it is going off track, you can deduct the points. So what will happen? By a reward function, the computer will learn, I mean, the CPU will learn how to actually drive on the track, right? So that is why it is like for reinforcement learning you need to create develop a reward function, right, which is not very easy. So which is actually a hard task to create a reward function, right, because it has to be optimal. And then after you develop a reward function, so this means that you can like create the reward function and the model can just improve based on the positive rewards, and it can just avoid the negative rewards, right? So it is just like to the kid, if you are uh, if the kid is doing something good, you're giving a chocolate. If kid is doing something bad, you're punishing the kid. So the kid will learn that, okay, he has to just do good things and, yeah, avoid the bad things. Uh, so what it does actually, so why we are actually including the human preferences, right? We can just like create a reward function and we can just let it automate, right? So we are actually introducing the human feedback because we want to improve the performance first of all. So with humans it can improve on the errors and the safety of AI systems, right? And also the most important part is like we want to uh, instinct or incorporate the human values into the learning process, right? Because if you just keep on keep on training on itself, it can be biased, right? So that is why I mean it's very important. Okay, this RLHF is reinforcement learning from human feedback is that the pairwise comparisons uh, are collected from human evaluators, right? So to rank different agent behaviors. So what the humans will do, I mean, they will be doing some voting, right, on the different outputs, right, and they will rank it. So based on what the output is, if they feel that certain output is good, they will rank it higher. If it is not that certain, they will rank it lower, right? So based on the ranking, a reward model will be constructed. So this means the reward model, it will be giving or it will be trained on good ranks uh, uh, performance. So the reward model will be constructed which will be guiding the agent towards the uh, behavior which I mean the humans will think it is not biased. And then after that the reinforcement model policy will be trained using the reward model, right? So here what we are doing, we are combining like different things. We are combining reinforcement learning with human feedback, right? And then we are using like the human evaluators are evaluating it, they are ranking it, they have a reward model, right? And then that reward model is used for that reinforcement learning. So yeah, this is a research paper reference for this. Uh, So after RLHF reinforcement learning from the human feedback, then there was a research paper for training language models to follow the instructions with human feedback, right? So in this, uh, so this is the snap from Chat GPT website, which illustrates how Chat GPT works, right? So you can see here there are three steps. We will see in details further. So first step is that you collect the data and you trained on supervised policy. So basically what you're doing, I mean, you're giving the prompt, the question, and you're giving the answer and you're training a supervised model. Okay. Second step, what you do, there will be some new questions there, and then the model, it is whatever model is trained, it will be giving some output, right? So what will happen now, the human will come into picture, they will evaluate the output, they will, as we discussed earlier, they will rank the different outputs, right? And then whatever data we have got, right, after ranking, then it will be used to train the reward model, right? The reward model will be having will be like trained using a good rank. And then at the last, what you're doing, you are generating. So we talk about uh, so in chat gpt, G stands for generative, right? So now in step 3, it will be generating new output. So this is actually how chat gpt is generating newer uh, data set, right, on which it is not even trained on, right? So yeah, let's discuss that here in detail. uh, So OpenAI has trained this on 80 billion parameters, right? Uh, and this is how ChatGPT has come into picture. So step one, what we discussed was that was training a baseline model, right? So a baseline model, what happens? You will be training. So you take a pre-trained model, you fine tune it with some small data set, which are actually labeled by the labelers, right? So these are the questions and the answers which are given by the labelers. And then what you do, you fine tune that model, and you train SFT model. So it is, yeah, supervised model which you'll be training, right? Uh, and which will be capable of generating the prompts based on, capable of generating the response based on the prompts that you'll be providing. Okay. Second step, which we saw after we have the baseline model trained on the labeled data, on the labeled corpus, was generating a reward model, right? So what happened in this step is, uh, the humans or the labelers, I mean, they will be given the task of voting the outputs generated by the model which is trained on step A, right? So they will be voting the outputs. So what this voting will do, so what voting will be, creating a like comparison data set, right? In which one is generated by the trained model, other is ranked by the labelers, right? And then the new model, reward model, will be trained, right? Using the the voted data, which will be further used for the reinforcement learning. Uh, so what happens if we avoid this step B, right? We can just directly use the baseline model also, right? But what happens? There will be biasness which will be creeping in, right? So suppose if I say, uh, if I have asked a question to ChatGPT, right? So suppose it can give a lot of responses, but suppose if in certain response it was being racist, or it was not being domain specific, and then those the labelers will be ranking them low, and so the model will be learning to actually train on a high ranked response. Okay, so after that, this yeah, supervised, so SFT is supervised fine tuned model, right? So then it is used to initialize the PPU model. So PPU is proximal policy model, right? uh, uh, so which, I mean, we will see later on. uh, and then used, so after that, after we are initializing the PPU model, uh, and then the rewards from the reward model will be used to update the weights for the PPU model. So what is happening actually? We are using the SFT model as a baseline, and then we are using the reward model, and based on the rewards, right? So based on the ranks, we will update that the base model, right? So if there are any issues, if there are any errors, it will be fixed. But what has to be noted is that the SFT model, which is the baseline model, and the PPO model, right? So I mean that there has, it should not be having much difference, right? This means if it is a lot of difference, this means it is significantly, something is significantly wrong with, either the base model we are training or with the evaluators, right? So basically in step three, right, in simple words, right, what we are doing, we send the prompt to the model, right? And then we observe the reward from the reward model. So we see, okay, if it has, the answer is uh, having a good rank or a low rank, and then based on that, like errors, you can say, it will be updating the weights so that the uh, rewards is maximized, right? And point to be noted is the steps uh, B and C, where we are like improving the reward model, and then we are actually having a final the PPU model. It is actually iterative, right? So that the model is continuously learning and it is improving. Okay, so before we move ahead, anything anyone wants to clarify or ask?
So right now we do not have any other questions as of now. You can continue with your discussion, and later, if we have, I will let you know.
Sure. So now this today chat gpt like is using this GPT-4, right, which is the latest version. So earlier version it was using GPT 3.5, which was a model trained on GPT-3 data plus the OpenAI data, which I mean you all or we all are like asking. uh, so the latest version is using this GPT-4 architecture. It is 150 trillion parameters with RLHF, right? Um, so you can see here, I mean, this is a report from GPT-4 official report page. You can see here on the right hand side, in green it is GPT-4, in blue it is GPT-3, and on the x-axis you have different exams like GRE, AP, right, bar exam for lawyers, right, uh, and you can see these are the different percentiles. So you can see how chat gpt is actually scoring like around suppose 100 percentile in some of the exams. And I mean, if you see an average, right, it is almost more than 80 for most of the exams, right? So this is, we can see like it is a tremendous improvement from the previous versions, right? So this graph is just used to see how much it has been improving from the previous version. Okay, so the summary of what we have discussed till now is we started by discussing about attention, um, mm, where we saw like the invention, the development of transformers, a new concept on which um, all the future versions of ChatGPT are based. Then we saw GPT-1, in which mm, we were fine tuning the model on different tasks. Then for ChatGPT, you saw that we were using only a specific data set, right? So we were using web text for this. Then then GPT-3, we saw introduction of few shot learning, right, in which it is, yeah, learning on when you're giving the prompt and the response, and then later on, I mean, it's giving you the response based on whatever uh, prompt and response you have. And then we saw RLHF, which was reinforcement learning using the human feedback, in which there was a reward system which was introduced, so that whatever responses this uh, GPT model is giving, it is filtering out the lower ranked response which are not relevant and just training on the high ranked and the relevant response. And then at the last, we saw instruct GPT, which is combining RLHF plus GPT, which is actually the chat GPT right now we are having. Okay. So if you want to further deep dive into LLMs, which is large language models, and chat GPT, you can go through these different terms, right? Because I don't think so we were having enough time, and also the scope, it is out of the scope of this session, because uh, most of you might not be having uh, the background in this, and you might be just thinking of starting onto this. So what you can do, I mean, you can explore these terms if you want to further like go into more depth. So what we have already discussed, right? RLHF, PPO, so zero shot learning, one shot learning, few shot learning, right? And then how do we fine tune the LLMs? So at the last, it is uh, the applications, right? So which is we saw before we started the session that yeah, how we can use the chat GPT for different use cases, right? Uh, so you can also use this in any app in your website anywhere. And what you need to do, you need to use the chat GPT API endpoint, right? So yeah, due to lack of time, we are not able to elaborate on this, but yeah, you can explore further that how you can use, you can go through the chat GPT APIs, and then you can see how you can consume those endpoints in, you can, in any app, in any web app, in any application, right? You have and then at the last, uh, the prompt engineering. So prompt engineering has been, as I discussed, it is has been really in demand in 2023 when the chat GPT has come, because you can see a lot of companies want to utilize chat GPT, right? And they are also like, it is helping to improve the productivity of their employees, and also it is helping them to cut cost by eliminating some of the manual jobs, right? So uh, a prompt engineer essential work is writing text-based prompts, which is called prompt engineering, and you can feed the prompts to the AI tool. So this is you can further go to the link here and you can explore more. I'll just share my screen here. So yeah, this is the link on Geek for Geeks, and you can see here uh, what is prompt engineering and what is you can see the pay scale they have given, right? It is more than 200K dollars, right? Which is pretty insane. The fresher salary in US, I mean, it starts from around 120K, right? And you can think, I mean, it's almost the double. So what I would advise is, um, yeah, I'm not saying that everyone should like work and start developing chat gpt like something, but in whatever domain you are, please start using this tool, and also try to search on good tips on how to write good prompts to make your work easier, to plan your travels, to debug your code, to learn any new concept, right? Um, so so that, I mean, you are able to utilize the like the enormous power. So yeah, thanks everyone. Any questions you can, yeah, ping and I'll be available to answer.
Uh, yeah, thank you very much, sir, for your experience insight about this particular topic. Well, I have a few questions I would like to answer, like to ask. So, I was just curious that whether prompt engineers do need to have an understanding of about the all the algorithms which are used for building the machine learning models which are being deployed by the ChatGPT. Uh, what do you think?
Uh, so normally, prompt engineer, I mean, if you want to start, you can start without a coding and without a machine learning background actually, right? But it would be really great, I mean, if you have that coding knowledge, and also understanding of AI and NLP, so natural language processing, because that would help you. Because suppose, I mean, this chat GPT, you can use whatever it is providing, right? Suppose you want to develop a custom chat gpt for your application, right? In that case, if you are aware of that, then you can be ahead of your competitors by actually customizing this tool for you. So it will be good, but I think for the start, just start from low and basic, start using it and start learning from it. Yeah.
And you also said that RL is being deployed for ChatGPT. So basically, whatever we are and all the users are using ChatGPT, is the algorithm learning from them?
Exactly, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I mean that is their energy source. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, at present, I'm not sure is GPT-4 allowed to connect to internet? Like, are they being whatever data is being displayed? Are they getting sources from the current internet, or it has been
Uh,
pre-trained previously?
yeah. So for the GPT-3, I mean, yeah, it has been trained previously, right? For GPT-4, I'm not sure exactly from what is the recent data set. I mean, they have actually, but I think once they give out the details, yeah, we can come to know.
Okay, okay. So,
So that is
like,
why
how
I'm saying, yeah, I
exactly?
mean, it will be good, like if you understand a very, so you go from the high level view how it works. So in that case, whatever are the limitations of chat gpt, right, I mean, then you can overcome those limitations. I mean, these
Okay,
are some of the limitations which are mentioned here on chat gpt official website, right? So you can see here. Yeah. So I mean, then you can like tweak your
okay.
chat gpt for these things. Yep, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Another doubt I have. So let's say you were showing or demonstrating that how can ChatGPT write codes. So basically, do let me know that let's say if I invent a programming language, so how can I teach ChatGPT to learn that language so that whenever I ask ChatGPT to write code for me in that language which I invented, so the ChatGPT can do that.
That's a really good question. So I think we cannot do that, right? First, I mean, you need to like it can only learn from existing. So the limitation is, which I forgot to mention. So limitation is it will be giving you from the existing data set. I mean that we have, and from the existing languages that we have, right? So on this note, I'll just share my screen and show this. Uh, this is a interpreter, right? It is in alpha release. So what it is doing, I mean, it is you can have this for like Python, for writing the Python codes and all, right? So you can see here the prompt, uh, like it is given just in English, right? So what it is doing, it is uh, giving you verbose answer, and in turn you can see here code interpreter plugin performing the logic calculations, right? So for a new language, it will not be having it, right? So you need to actually, in that case, Gaurav, what would be good approach will be building your custom chat GPT, and then adding those your like grammar and your compiler into that, so that yeah, it can like, and then you can create the plugin.
Okay, okay, got it. Yeah, so basically, like just an idea came to my mind. Like someone can actually create an application which will basically ask users to demonstrate syntaxes for their programming language, and then the application will write code in that language. So, but then with the help of a custom chat GPT, we can train the model based upon our syntaxes, and then finally we can build a product like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because uh, uh, like you, I mean, this code interpreter, it is not available in the like free version, right? Which I was showing. So it
Hmm.
is only available in the premium version. So to a large Gaurav and all the attendees, I mean, it is ChatGPT is helping a lot on like day-to-day tasks, right? If you want to plan for any trip, or like prepare for any competitive exams, right? Anything, or cook anything, or go on dieting, or looking for some medical advice, uh, just just reference, right? You have to consult the doctor. So I mean, this is quite helpful, but for more like specific implementation, yeah, I think it will be good that if like yeah, people are going for custom implementation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rehan, for your really insightful expertise on this particular topic. So, I would request the audience if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask Mr. Rehan, you can put that in the chat box and I'll convey it to him. So, meanwhile, so I would like to ask you that what is your one advice that you would like to give professionals right now who are starting out their careers, that how can they utilize ChatGPT and how can they actually be ahead of other people? in the skill market, so that what particular skills will be relevant in the future that ChatGPT cannot actually replace.
Um, yeah, so that's really good question, and yeah, it should be a part of the session. Uh, so, like wherever, I mean, it is decision making is involved, right? Or you can say, when suppose you talk about a like a normal software project, right? So what happens from the starting of the journey? You get the requirements, you do the feasible study, right? And then you prepare the design, then you start working on it, prepare the test cases, shape it, testing, and support, right? Uh, so uh, my advice would be that you should be uh, like just not focus on just like copy pasting the code and do your work, right? Because that would be replaced by ChatGPT anyways, right? What your focus should be on seeing what are the business requirements, right? What are the solutions which is the best you can give and which is suited to that uh, requirement, right? So chat gpt right now it cannot go to the customer, understand the requirements, and can form like the feasible requirements that can be carried out, right? Till now, but in future we don't know what it can do, right? So because a lot of computer scientists, uh, even the Turing Award winners and all, right? I mean, they are quite, uh, they don't know. I mean, what are the what to what levels it can go, right? So my advice would be that please focus on just not writing the code and doing any task, but please, but also focus on how it is meeting the business requirement, right? So understand the customer in a good way, understand the domain, and also have a good understanding of system design, how you can scale the system, because chat gpt can just give you snippets of the code, right? It cannot provide you a whole software. So if you are aware of how you can actually have that, like have that code and you can scale it, I mean, yeah, that would be like you'd be the sought after person. But if you are just like focusing on just getting the solution and making it work, then sooner or later you will be replaced.
Yes, yes, that's really great insights. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Rehan sir, I would like to thank you very much for your gracious presence today and for sharing your extremely valuable insights and expertise on this particular topic to our wider audience. And we do not really have any questions right now from the live audiences, but I guess many of the people do come up and look up at the recording, and they do leave the comments out in the in the comment section. So feel free to have a look at this particular stream later, and then you can answer the questions to our audiences if there are any. Okay.
Yeah. So Gaurav,
So
I just saw a question actually. So it is not much related to this session, but Mohammed Anas asked that, yeah, if he is learning Java, and if it is fine that he's learning Java, right? I mean, it's because we are talking about AI, Python, and then deep learning, machine learning. So if it is fine, yeah, please feel free to learn any technology and work on it. That doesn't matter, right? But it matters, right, how you are actually solving the business problems, how you're designing a robust system. uh, yeah, I mean, that is important. So language, I mean, it doesn't matter, but if you want to perform, like build something in data science or uh, machine learning, deep learning, it would be better if you work in Python. That would be easier. Yeah. It is possible in Java also, but it is uh, not, like you'll not be having much support from the community, much libraries and all. Okay. Yep. Thanks, Gaurav. Yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for joining. Yeah. Please
yeah,
post
thanks a
any
lot,
questions
everyone.
after this in the comments. Yeah. Mhm.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. Do check out the Geek-O-Lympics series and the events that we're having right now, and do register for them. Yeah. Thank you, sir, very
Bye.
much for your
Good night.
valuable time. Yeah. Good night, everyone.
You're welcome. Thanks. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Gaurav.